DFTW, yeah, you.
Hey, welcome to Drawing from the Well. My name's Hunter. I'll be your host. Also, HCXM Tattoo on Instagram if you're looking for tattoos. It's basically just going to be a kind of a hang discussions revolving around different topics, sometimes with a guest, sometimes just with me. Drawing from the Well is based off of obviously a drawing. I'll be doing a drawing while I talk and or have a conversation. But drawing is also like you can draw things towards you. It's a gathering. So drawing from the well back in the day would be like there would be a town well where everybody would get their water from. Everybody would gather around there and usually socialize. The modern day version of that is kind of like the water cooler at work. You're gathering around what you need to hydrate your body, water, you know? So essentially, the mindset here is gathering around thoughts that are nourishing versus water, you know? So that's the plan. This is kind of the first step in that direction. Hopefully you like it. I think you will. So come on, let's rock and roll. So I guess kind of the first thing I wanted to hit on is tribes or tribalism just as a concept for human beings in general. Even with drawing from the well, it's essentially trying to create a tribe, something that you can gather around where others that have a like-minded sense are gathering as well, because it can kind of gain more power, I think, if you have multiple minds working on the same subject. You know, maybe another way to put it would be like you would think 1 + 1 = 2, but in a human sense, 1 + 1 equals like 2.5 or 3, because there's kind of a fusion that happens between the ideas and the energy. So, all that is to say that I think tribalism is woven into many factors in society, whether it be your clothing, the type of music that you listen to, TV shows, places you shop, you know, all that is kind of based off of what you're comfortable with and what you want to support. So, yeah, if you want to be part of the tribe, come on down and join me. I'm going to do these pretty regularly. And the idea is it's kind of a hang, you know, it's kind of a way to go to your buddy's house and sit down, and maybe you don't even have to play the video games, you're just getting to be there, you know. And I think that's what maybe we're missing, is just places to be, places to chill, places to connect that aren't kind of pay to play. As far as like, sure, we could go hang out at the local coffee shop or something, but it costs the cost of a cup of coffee, which isn't bad. And I'm not saying don't support local businesses and things, but I think we're missing the core, which is like tribal community coming together over a bigger idea or a bigger notion other than just commerce, you know, because that's kind of bullshit. But to each their own. I'm not a hater of capitalism or whatever it is, you know. I just think you can't lose sight of that the source of that is people wanting to be together, people wanting to hang. It's not about people wanting to spend money. That's not the fucking point, you know. That's what the point has become. But that wasn't the OG point. The OG point was like, hey, humans want to do stuff. We should provide them some cool spaces to do that. And are we going to get paid to do that? Yeah. But if that's all you're focusing on, what the hey, bro? That's not cool. That sucks. That's terrible. That's predatory, and it doesn't last forever because, you know, it's not birth of a good intention. It's not rocket science to see that that's not something that can be supported for a long period of time. Another way to look at it is there's a way that you fit into the bigger picture, and that's kind of based off of what is your skill set. What can you do very well that others could look to you to do that? And That way everybody feels fulfilled off of it. You're doing something cool, providing a service, and society is better because of something that you're doing. Yeah, it's kind of transitioned into what can you buy versus what can you provide. You know, it used to be like you're a baker, you're a horseshoe maker, you're a basket weaver, you're a concrete heaver. What? You know, but now it's like, oh no, I work for this corporation punching in numbers, which isn't really a human thing. And it's no wonder that like maybe AI stuff's taking away job thingies, because a lot of these jobs are just like placeholder things. I saw a funny episode, a little piece on The Simpsons, an old school episode where they're talking about an old guy, and he's like, yeah, he worked at the factory pressing a button for all these years and then got replaced by a machine and then died, you know, and it's just kind of like trying to say, be careful what it is that you're holding up, because it might not even require you to hold it up at some point. So I know that's a weird one, but anywho, trying to get positive with the tribe thing. So like we're still feeding into the tribal thing, maybe like online or whatever. Is that like an old man thing to say too? Online, but you're still playing into the tribal thing. But I think that if you don't have the actual physical space to fill with others that feel that same way about it, it doesn't really have the same effect. And it has a similar effect, one that's almost good enough to, which it is pretty much good enough to fool you into using it constantly instead of seeking out maybe this purer form. And what I mean by that is like listening to a heavy metal band on an album is very cool, but it's not the same as going to see that band live. There's just so much more different stuff happening. And maybe there's like a reason why someone couldn't go to the actual show, and I understand that. And that's why it's great that there's a substitute for the actual thing. But anytime there's a written word that's a substitute for the thing, you're losing a little bit of the value of the actual thing. And it's cool that you have a concept of it. We should have concepts of everything to be able to store in a library somewhere in case somebody wants to reference it. But never forget that you're kind of supposed to be out there doing the thing, trying the thing, falling down, maybe skinning your elbow and being like, ooh, gonna take a couple weeks to heal that, but that's okay because you went and had the experience that is now with you forever and kind of powers your character in a way. That's what people want when they run into somebody, is like, tell me a story that's kind of cool about something that maybe you did or experienced or whatever. What they're not looking for is for it to be like a list of shit that you own or have bought, which is, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that's kind of cool to somebody. But an experience allows the person to share it with you. When you tell them stuff that you have, it's like maybe they care about having that stuff or not. But it definitely puts them on a hierarchy of who's cool and who's not type of a thing. Whereas if you're sharing an experience, that's just like fun for everybody, if that makes sense. Say we're a tribe and it's like one of the old school ones, and we have our old school ways where maybe we like dance around a fire, and this is maybe like acting out a thing or telling a story of some kind. Even if this is maybe not necessarily based off of a true thing, and maybe it is, I'm not trying to say it's not, I'm just trying to say that I think there's power even in acting out what the thing could or might be. So I think that's why it's important to realize what it is that you're aligning with or feeding or supporting, because that is what you are essentially. There's that phrase, you are what you eat, you know, you are who you hang out with, you are the systems that you fuel. So what are you fueling, you know? And hopefully it's cool. What even is cool, but just make sure it's like benefiting in the right directions. having say like an online tribe or a concept that you support online or from afar, I think it's important to realize that you're not really maybe physically supporting it, like acting it out in real life, which I think is definitely an important factor in supporting anything. Because if not, it's just a concept to you. It doesn't really mean anything until you actually see it in action. You could like be in the army, but until you're somewhere blowing somebody away with shooting somebody to death, it's probably not going to register the full volume of what it takes to be in the army, so, or in any type of military capacity. So these are rambles about tribalism, where I think tribalism really almost has to take place in physical reality, and to have an online tribe is just a falsity, because you can't really have a online physical presence. It doesn't make sense. Online isn't physical, so you can have a mimic of it, but it's a mental thing, not a physical aspect. And there's something about dancing around other people, talking around other people, being around large groups. And think about how many people you know now that are like, I feel uncomfortable in a large group of people. I think that's part of the program. That's part of the programming to split us up, to keep us apart. Because if you don't even want to hang out with anybody, boom, they win already. Because that's the whole thing, is you're either going to be split apart or you're going to be brought back together. It's divide and conquer, you know what I mean? It's with the tribe thing, you have an innate sense down in here somewhere of other humans that are like you that you want to chill around. Maybe they like to play basketball, maybe they like to weave baskets, maybe they like to rap over beats, maybe they like to paint, maybe they like to ride bikes, whatever it is. But there's like a group of people who are doing a thing right now that if you were doing that with them, you would be like, this is so tight, but instead we're pushed to focus on what we don't have, what we don't like. Why does they have this and I don't have that, and I should start a revolution over this? And really, I feel like if you have like these 4 things, you'll be tight and you can work off of that. And that is food, shelter, community, people that are into the same thing as you, and opportunity for growth. And you kind of put the deeper definition on that stuff, but that's it right there. If you can get those down, you will be on the path to doing what it is that you need to be doing to feel fulfilled, full up. If you're like a glass of water, every day you're dumping out, but you're trying to get to 100. But if you keep dumping out every day, how are you going to get to 100? And the world's almost programmed you to be like, what? You're not dumping out into other people? You're not giving? You're not helping? And it's like, yeah, well, if you don't leave enough for yourself, you're really not giving the best stuff anyway. It's the secondary stuff, So back to the tribalism thing, like if you once a week went and gathered with people who did a thing that you loved, you'd be able to enter the world again for the rest of the week. You're feeling empowered. You're bringing some of that with you. It's things that you can build off of instead of just kind of consuming and pooing out. It's basically doing a thing with your body that your mind doesn't really need to focus too heavy on. So you reach this state of like, almost like, Zen or non-focus, or maybe it's super focus, so that you're not even really registering the rest of the world, and that's why it feels good. I don't really know. I could probably flesh it out in my mind maybe, but that's not really the point. The point is that everybody kind of wants that, and if you can achieve it, it feels good. It's basically like a warm bath. That pretty much feels good to everybody, almost everybody. And I understand somebody has maybe 3rd-degree burns, so a warm bath doesn't feel good to you. So I'm not talking about that. And we'll find a way for that too. But what I'm saying is there should be a redirection in like when a baby pops out and the shit that you give to this baby to succeed in the world. You don't just start filling it with stories. You first start filling it with like how to be the best little baby. If for some reason it got pushed out the front door, that it would be able to take care of itself for 5 seconds, So I also think part of the bigger design is that if everybody has a tribe, that if they produce for that tribe becomes stronger. And there's another force out there that wants to be strong, but not off of its own efforts. So it will redefine somebody into its tribe, and basically at the sacrifice of that person's identity, kind of. And that's basically what a corporation does, is takes what your identity is, strips it away, and then turns you into a worker for that corporation, therefore making it bigger. So, without going too crazy with it, it's basically like kings and shit of the old world. It's just renamed for corporations and CEOs and stuff like that. There's basically inside of you right now a best case scenario for you to be using your energy in a specific way. For some it might be doing analytical book work, and for some it might be chopping down a tree or building a fence or digging a hole or, putting a garden together. The point is, if you were to be the type of person who is the gardener versus the indoor technician person, it's not that you'll have a terrible life. It's not that everything is wrong. It's just that there is a better sense suited for you. And if you're not doing that, I feel like the bigger picture isn't being fully fulfilled. And there's a smaller picture that's benefiting from you not fully realizing whatever your potential is. An example would be, there's a guy who's supposed to write the ultimate sci-fi novel, but isn't properly pushed, and he just ends up working at the push button box factory, for the rest of his life. Still needed somebody to press that button, but the world's now robbed of a super cool vantage point because this big machine, I guess, needed this dude or dudette for the button pushing instead. So this is why we need to band together, because somebody, if in the right scenario, would have seen that and been like, wait a minute, cool that you're pushing buttons and whatnot, but let's get you into a position where you're at least writing short stories or something. Get it out somewhere, because that's going to benefit everybody, not only the person making it, because then they get to feel a creative type of release, but everybody else benefits too, because now we have a new cool story to listen to or think about. I like going to the fair and seeing the rides and hearing the people and smelling the smells of the food, even if I'm not going to eat it. I like that it's there. I like that it's something to experience beyond coded data, which isn't real. It's a mimic. Let's just make sure what's real and what's trying to be real. Back in the day, they would call that a poser. And I get it. Everybody's allowed to be whoever they want to be. But a poser is somebody who is pretending to be the thing and not actually being the thing. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes pretending to be the thing and not being the thing. Let's all be real. And I'm not saying don't be inclusive in things. I'm saying if somebody's standing there telling you they're just as good as the best person in there, I say, let's have a show of action and see, not just off of the words. If we're all at a skateboard comp and two people say they're the best, let's have them hit the ramp. Let's have them shred it up, and then whoever shreds it up is the fucking winner. What happened to that? But no, let's have a vote online of which one's better, because this guy's got this color pants on and this guy has a cool shirt or a hat, so that's how they'll win. No, hit the ramp. So, it's all about there's something about the physical spectacle, whether it be online or physical, that has a draw. But the physical draw is always going to have a greater value. And B, it's so easy to manipulate it online that just you're probably going to lose the actual point of it, which is like you're getting the energy from the action of the event, you know? Like you could watch a fight online or something. I don't even like fighting, so I don't even know why I'm using this as an example, but you could watch a fight online, but it's not going to be the same as being there watching two people punch each other in the head. Bring back your tribe, even if the tribe isn't already there for you, which is probably not going to be because they're not going to sell you something that is going to empower you really. It's more things that distract and take your mind away from what you're probably trying to actually build. Even the word entertainment, like entertainment, contain, it's like bring you in to contain you, kind of make you blissfully unaware of whatever. Entertainment. Not hating on entertainment, I love entertainment. This is kind of a form of entertainment, this thing that I'm doing right now. But make sure that you're entertained and then taking that back out into the world and finding something better with it. Otherwise it's a kind of a prison in a way. But it's of your own design, and you can always work your way out. But let's like come back together in physical spaces. There's a movie called Dazed and Confused, and it's like, you know, supposed to be in maybe the 70s or early 80s, and there's kids just hanging out at like a place that youths hang out at, you know, and it's not like technically an arcade, you know, there's like kind of pool tables and shit there. It's like a rec center or a recreation center, you know. And you wouldn't have that now because the risk versus reward monetarily just isn't going to be there. There's probably a bunch of creepos and all this stuff, but like, why can't there be a policed by the people there space where it's just for them? And then if some creepo fuck is in there, guess what? He's getting the hammer, you know? What happened to like being able to defend a space that's just for fun and good and cool, you know? It seems like everything is so self-absorbed that it's not even about who's coming there. It's about what it is that you're coming to see. This is such a cool thing, you know? I think it's about make a pretty like open space, flat space for things to happen in. It's like having a fairground. The fair isn't there all year. The fair comes and operates in the space. Guess what else? Concerts happen there. Guess what else? A pig show or a bull show or whatever it is, you know, for farm shit, you know, like, we don't have the spaces to do that. You're never going to have the fair if you don't have the fucking fairgrounds. You're not going to have the fair in downtown that's all cluttered and crammed up, you know? So bring back the spaces that we can do this stuff in. That's really the point of all of this is one of those spaces that you can meet up and hang out and think about this stuff and talk about it. You know, leave me a comment or whatever if there's shit that you want me to hit on or want to talk about, because that's what this is all about. It's a hang. It's a chat. If you have your skill set, which is basically kind of baked into your DNA, doesn't matter what it is, everybody's got a little something. I think the name of the game for the machine is that you're trading that skill set for an acceptance into a bigger group, because you've been separated from your original group. So you need to find a group somewhere, obviously, right? It's like they separate you and then they sell it back to you, but only give you the options that they deem to be good. So it's like a costume store, and you walk in the front, there's 4 costumes there. None of them are what you want to be, but that's what you have to choose from. So pick whichever one you want. And really the name of the game is there's a door right behind the front counter, and if you walk through there, there's a million different options, anything you want, and you get to choose. But they don't tell you that, and they never will, because they want you to pick from the 4 that they want you to pick from, because guess what? They probably get a bonus from you choosing off of this thing that you're not even supposed to be. Isn't that cool? So just figure it out. Find your crew. So back in the day, like, with music and things, there was what was on the radio, and then there was kind of like underground music. And as I got exposed to it, you would just be going to shows that you would hear about. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But what would be most accepted was things that were the best. People would kind of vote on it, obviously, by supporting it with their dollar when they would go see it like live. But when you're not doing it live, it's almost a skewed view of whether you're really supporting it or not. It's kind of like giving something a heart online, which they call a like, even though it's a heart, which means love. Very confusing, you know, but that's what it's like. It's like doing that. It's like, yeah, I'm giving it my attention, but it's this weird, there's an ambiguity as to what I'm actually even giving, which is very weird. But in real life, if you go to shake a hand and there's something weird with it, you can feel it instantly. You know, it's just like there's too much room for manipulation in the online space. And I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm just saying make sure that there is a live action version that you're able to reference against that gives you a greater sense of what you're really looking for, which is truth. Not some BS, you know. But that's what a tribe is for. It's to kind of help protect you from the greater jungle of the world. But the whole point is to strip you away from that so that the greater jungle of the world can feast upon thee, you know, in whatever way it sees fit. So you've got a set of skills, find out what those set of skills are, and quit trading that set of skills for some short-term acceptance into a group that is literally kind of built to use you and feed off of you, you know. If you are at there used to be this place called Badlands, and it was a skate park, and you would go there, you'd pay X amount, you know, $12 or something, $8, I don't remember what it was, to get in there, and you could skate all day. And there was all walks of life in there, everybody kind of just under the same banner of this skate place, you know. Never any fights or any beefs, and I'm sure there maybe was one or two, but that's not what it was about, you know. It was about doing the skating. This is what this place is about. Spaces for reverence of a thing, you know. And I bet you could find that anywhere. You could probably take it to a park, you know. You could be like I said with the Frisbees, you could start a Frisbee club. And the reason you would start a Frisbee club is, like I said, your DNA is like, when I throw a thing, my hand-eye coordination is so good that I can hit the thing. Boom. So when you're doing it, makes you feel good. When you're doing it around others who do that well, makes you feel double good. And then who knows, maybe there's even a third step where you like get monetary assistance from this thing, but then that becomes maybe pursuit of a passion over, you know, a business or whatever. That's a different conversation. But my whole thing is find your tribe through the actions that make you feel good. The world wants you to like project an image, kind of. It wants you to put on a mask or a suit and project out to everybody what you are. And I think what the actual thing is made for is connection. You know, you're doing that so that you have this way to signal others about what you're about. So it's about connection, not projection. Projection is a fake thing. It's like a mask, you know. True connection is like a smile, and projection is like a smiling mask, which makes people be like, are they smiling, or what's going on here, you know? So don't let the bigger picture kind of dictate what you know to be real or not, you know? The big picture is probably going to be like, hey, don't smile at people, that's wrong. And you know it's not, because when you smile at people, it feels good, you know? And maybe we can get to a world where they screw us up enough to where you wouldn't want to smile at people, because maybe you don't smile in the jungle, you know, because it's like a signal for violence or something, you know? But are we there? Is that where we're getting as a society? Back to the jungle? And if so, then we better tribe up, baby, because that's the only way we're really going to survive a situation like that. You know, you would hope it's a fun tribe around things that grow creatively, not an actual need for a tribe so that you don't get consumed by the wave, you know? So, not trying to get all super dark with that, but got to come back together, baby. That's what it's all about. Come back together in places that we have strength, you know? And it just takes looking right inside and seeing what's fun, what's cool, what lights you up a bit. Then maybe if you're, you know, successful with it, provide a space for others to possibly share in that too. And that's what I'm talking about, you know, like make a space, even if it's for you and two other people, or you and one other person, or you just going to the park and talking out loud about a thing, whatever it is. Just find those spaces so that somebody can stumble onto it and be like, I was thinking about it this way, but now I'm thinking about it that way because of this exposure to this thing. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Because I think that's what it is too, is everybody just kind of wants to be appreciated, which appreciation just means like for someone to give something value. So people just want to be appreciated, which means they just want someone to give their shit value, And people can say, it's not about that. I do what I want because blah, blah, blah. Human by nature, it wants community. It wants to be accepted into a thing, probably for security reasons or whatever, just from like a tribal sense, of being in the jungle. You want to be able to go to sleep at night knowing you're not going to get eaten by something. So there's this thing called the Dunbar number, and it's basically I forget it's like guy's name, Dunbar, who came up with it, but it's basically this kind of theory that the human brain is essentially like a filing system, like a computer in a way, and it only has so much storage capacity for like random access availability, but which basically translates to it can only care about so much stuff so hard, So essentially, it's like around 2 or 250 of people that a human being can truly, really connect to in a way where they're going to be activating with this person a lot. And I think that's kind of an important thing to think about, where if we're online with bajillions of people, thousands of inputs and blah, 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 it's just way over that limit of what you can really even conceptualize. So then if you're trying to like make a world that's for 7 billion people, how do you even have a logical conversation about that kind of contrast of life form and culture? That's like saying every department in the grocery store is the deli, or every one is the fruit department or whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. You can't run them all the same because they're not built to be the same thing. With the Dunbar number, I think that it's kind of important to really focus down on what a smaller number of manageable things is, and almost prioritizing what you're getting out of stuff in your life, because there's a lot of stuff right now that you're giving a lot of energy to and it's not giving back to you. So essentially it's draining your forward motion, which is even bad for the thing that's using you in this way. But what's the term, the squeaky wheel gets the grease or whatever. It's not the one that's working the best that gets the most attention. So these are the things we need to pay attention to, though. I think that while we do need to help everybody and make sure everybody has a fair chug, I think that we need to also refocus on who is doing a lot and doing the best for the majority in a way that's, forward moving and creative. But it's all just a conversation. It's all just a conversation to be had about, running the numbers on what are we making. If we're a movie production company and this year, what movies did we make, Daryl? And the guy's like, 2 horror movies, 2 action, 2 rom-com, It's pretty spread across the board, And then a couple of years later, what are we making? Only shitty children's movies that no one goes to see. Then it's like, maybe we want to switch up our battle plan then. Maybe we got to get out of only doing the Pixar movies or something and get back into some diehards or something, I don't know. That was a little bit of a ramble, but I do think it's like, what are we focusing on? What is if our whole deal is, it builds like a giant form, what is that form? Is it something cool? Is it something shadowy? Is it something specific? Is it not? Is it amorphous? Is it a blob? Is it cool to look at? Is it not? Is it colorful? Is it, what is it? But I think that it's important to figure out the answer to that question, because there's some value there. There's some driving value there, most definitely, as to where we're going and how we could possibly get there. Just telling a better story. Basically, we're all huddled around a campfire right now. And what story are we telling? And it's not that it can't be a scary story, but maybe the scary story should have a point that helps everybody learn as to like why not to go into the woods in the middle of the night, because you might get eaten by a bear. So bring back like looking out for your boy. Bring back if somebody has food on their face, you tell them. Bring back like, not to say yes sir, yes ma'am, but just giving a shit about leading with a positive sense instead of this like Wild West walk into a saloon and blast somebody for looking at you the wrong way or not saying the right thing to you. I think that's just asking for a fight. And if that's the deal, that's fine, but just make sure you're calling it that and not calling it something else like self-defense. You go in and start shoving everybody and blow somebody away and call it self-defense because, you know what I mean? Let's just make sure we're all operating on the same page of what we want and what's cool, what feels good. Because a lot of the times, I think feeling angry can seem like it feels good, but then it's like when it's over, you realize, oh wait, that wasn't a good feeling. That was just a feeling filling the void. But I think that if you shoot for stuff that resonates in a positive way, it just feeds back better and like more long-term energy, I guess. That was a little probably a little too hippy-dippy, but I do think that just leading with a positive attitude is half the battle most of the time. Yeah, there have been studies that showed like if you just are feeling bad and you smile, it almost halfway tricks your brain into being like, oh, I guess we're happy. Not to say that that's what you should do, but that it's all about leading towards that. And if you're not, then duh, that you're unhappy and not changing because there's no directional course change. You're like, we're headed south. It's getting hotter. But what the hell? All you gotta do is turn around and head the opposite direction of the heat. And along the way, maybe see if we can find some friends to go along with. And that's really what it is. Back to the tribal thing. You're just looking for a crew to hang with. Back in the day, we'd be playing 007, 4 of us on the couch, split screen, just the best time of your life. There's pizza and sodas, it was just like, it was something else, man. And where is that? Where's the arcade? And it's not as profitable to produce shit that way anymore. And that sucks, Like some smart person out there, make it profitable for that to be that way, I don't think it's about that. It's about building fun stuff for people to do with each other that's not solely just based off of poisoning you to death, All right. And one more aspect to this thing that I want to throw in there is back in 2012, I was really kind of doing some digging on myself, trying to like figure it all out and challenged myself for 3 months every day to come up with kind of like a positive statement or something, like a little message to myself that would just kind of like, start the day off right. And I was just going to share one of those per episode until they run out. So being that this episode is about tribalism or being tribal, a group type of mentality, I thought it was fitting. The first one is the people in my life teach me things. And that's just like who your tribe is going to influence who you are. So it's really important to kind of find the right tribe. Maybe there's even multiple tribes for multiple things, The whole point, though, is to start looking at it as like, what is your group think? What is your group think that you're involved with and supporting? What is it thinking for you? What is it producing? What is it saying? And just make sure that that is aligned with all the stuff that you're about and that you want to see thrive. So the people in my life teach me things. So I mean, that's not even to say all positive. Like there can be people who are doing negative shit to you that's teaching you like that's not what you want in your life. So just kind of, it's just a statement of being aware of what you're getting taught by who is in your life, make sure it's like in the direction that you want to go. Because here's the thing, you can learn from hardships and from hard things, but I think at the end of the day, we're all seeking peace, love, positive reinforcements and attention, and a nice group to reflect the things that we like. A nice group to do that with. But yeah, it's nothing too crazy. It's just kind of like a little mantra in a way. It was a way just to kind of start the day off on the right foot, and I think that's important. Journaling can do that for you. Going for a jog. I mean, there's a million different ways to have that happen. But yeah, I'll do one of those, for every episode, kind of just, it's a neat little thing to maybe look forward to for every episode. It'll be interesting to see what coincides with who is on the episode, whether it's just me or an idea, topic, whatever, or a guest, person. Yeah, there's always cool little coincidences. There's always cool little coincidences that pop up that I enjoy. So can't wait to see what those might be. Definitely let me know if this is something that you are entertained by. It's not really about you, but of course I'm trying to make something to share. So let's see if we can make it the most understandable from both directions. You know what I mean? Just a hang. Just a hang. If you came over to my house, this is probably what we'd be doing anyway. Have a buddy, I've known since fourth grade. And a lot of the times when he comes over, we'll just bust out a flash sheet, paint for a bit. Just spend that time, and not watching TV, not reciting shit that we saw that makes us mad about stuff. It's just, for fun, for creativity. Let's not lose that. That's really, human beings are really good at that, and should keep that on deck, as they say. On these little smash paintings, the whole thing is really fun, just in general, really freeing, kind of just loose, just having fun with it. But my most favorite part, I think, is there's these little edge shapes that are kind of where the brush just skipped off or where a paint hit and splattered. And those are kind of my favorite pieces to like do the little details on, because they are just so loose and free and kind of almost like very natural forms, like almost just something you might find in nature, kind of. Just pretty cool. I just like seeing those little patterns pop up, and was just doing one right here, so I figured I'd point it out as to, creativity is important, and it doesn't necessarily have to be pointed in any specific direction. I think just kind of spending that energy is cool and important. So back to your tribe, figure out which group of people are spending their energy in the same way that you want to spend it. And it's not to say you have to do it all day, every day, or whatever, but there maybe should be an allotted amount of time for you that is for that specific thing. And just think about it this way, where if you did do that, it makes everything else in your life stronger because you have this kind of reference point, this different reference point that allows you to go back to all your other stuff with a different set of eyes and a different set of, let's call them maybe like just a different set of eyes on it, you know? A different set of eyes is always good, especially if you've been staring at a thing forever. It's always good to take time, whether it be with your own eyes or getting somebody else's eyes on it, you know? Sometimes it's just good to, if you're working on a project, go to sleep, wake up the next day and look at it with some fresh eyes and you'll see it in a different way a lot of the time. So try to build spaces that you can be with other people, you know, whether it be a meetup at a park for a book discussion, or I don't even know if Denny's are still a thing, but people used to meet up at Denny's and just shoot the shit and, you know, be all crazy. That was just a space, you know. I'm sure all the Denny's employees hated all of us, but yeah, some of the best nights just shooting the shit at a Denny's, kind of trying to figure out life and what it was all about. But where are those spaces? You know, where are those spaces? And they probably still exist, but they probably cost a lot of money or are only accessible in certain ways, where there's always been that. There's always been exclusivity to things, but there's always been an option for you to be able to still get the thing. It just might be a different entrance point or a different access point or a different cost for entry, you know, whatever that might be. I know that's a little cryptic, but shit was different back in the day. I would literally go to a show where you'd be like, oh, it's you know, we're from Orlando, Castleberry, whatever area, and they'd be like, oh, it's in Melbourne. I'd drive over there, pull up into a parking lot, and it doesn't look like there's any actual business here, and it's a church, and on the second story of the building, where I don't even know what was on the bottom story, but the top floor was a children's library with little short stack bookshelves and a little stage that's like 1 foot elevated so that, you know, the band would be elevated above the floor. And I saw fucking Unearth and Diecast there and got my fucking front tooth kicked out by some ninja doing kicks and shit, you know what I mean? But just like at the most random spot ever. I have a lot of funny stories about showing up at churches for funny shows. There's the band The Locusts that I saw at like in a breezeway at a church, which was insane. I don't know how you end up there, but yeah. And I'm not saying open up your churches to hardcore bands and that's what's going to save the world. I'm just saying that those were spaces that were not readily available every day. Called bills, come on down, have a hardcore show. You know, that's not what it was. There was like this one chance to have it probably, or this one opportunity, because that's probably what it was, is somebody manipulated the system so that they could use these things for these spaces and, you know, bless them for it. Another aspect of the tribe, I think, is if everybody in the tribe has a different focus, but related still to the movement, the greater movement of the tribe, you make a super strong tribe. You make this super versatile tribe that has all these different things going on. And that just makes it unique and interesting. Like imagine a band and it's not just a drummer, 2 guitars, and a bassist. It like has a horn section and keyboards and all this stuff. Or maybe just one of the guys or a few of the people in the band have that extra knowledge to mix into it. So then you still maybe only have 3 or 4 people making the music, vibing, whatever, but 1 or 2 of them has the ability to almost morph into other musicians with other talents, you know? So that's just what I'm saying, is like, instead of being like, what am I getting out of it? What are my friends bringing to me? Why don't you try to be a super solid badass and bring that to your friend group? Because then not only is people probably going to want to be around you more, but whomever you are around will be benefiting greatly from how cool you actually are, you know? Like if you were making a movie and all the people that were around you helping make that movie are super creative, I'm pretty sure your movie's probably going to be super cool, versus the other way around where if everybody's just kind of like there for the paycheck, you might be hard pressed to make something super dope. Maybe you're that bad. Maybe you're that awesome. Maybe you're a super solid pimp, you know. But I'm just saying, as far as like set yourself up for success, kind of. And how do we do that? I would love to figure it out. Where are the spaces where they're there though, you know? Like there's little like places with pump tracks for BMX people and free skate ramps over here and blah 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 blah. But to what end and what for? If it's just for people to get off work and forget about their troubles at the little skate park, that's cool, but that's not really building anything. If it's having events where shit happens and people meet Tony Hawk, or even just your band plays and you get to kiss a girl, something like that, you know, it's just like, where are those spaces? Where is that availability for the magic to happen, for there to be a chance, you know? Because it's not going to be provided by the big machine. So we kind of have to make it, you know, happen, where maybe you're waiting for the fair and it comes in July and little Timmy's birthday is in January. Build a little fair in your backyard. It's all simple games anyway, you know, put a little effort into it and make it happen. All right, final push, run through some detail on this. Today's topic was tribes. Another way to say that is just, who are your friends? What is your work? What is your family life like? And all that is very important to kind of take a little bit of a note as to what the actual value of that is, because it is paying you or not, like in an energy sense. So really take a little look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. No, I'm just kidding. But you definitely need to take a look, take a little census of what's going on, and who is your tribe. If they are hunter warriors and you are more of the gatherer of the fruit and the barley and things, then make sure that's what you're doing. Because if you're more of one than the other, you're going to feel it over time, as far as like that energy expenditure is going to spend in a different way on the long scale of things. And you're going to find that you probably will just reach a more fulfilling point if you're using your energy the right way. Think about it maybe like sports. If you are a soccer player, not the same as the football guy, because the soccer guys are like kind of moving constantly, whereas the football, it's stopped, and these movements that pop out here and there, you know? So it's like, figure out where you're best suited to be spending your energy. And it's not to say you have to spend every moment there, but you probably should figure out a way to be able to have that on the regular, as almost like a way to vent almost like a built up gas. Like you have created this creative thought or this creative energy, and now it needs to go somewhere. And even if it's a doodle on a napkin and then you throw it away, or a journal entry that you burn every single one of them because you don't want them around, that's okay. But it's just the fact that it's being created and that it is being brought forth, because otherwise it like dwells in darkness eventually, you know, because maybe it gets pushed to the back of your mind or your psyche or whatever. But that's why it's, you know, you gotta kind of gotta toot them out, you know what I mean? Get them out of there. Make sure it's in a way that is beneficial to you, obviously. Don't be like pooting out in public or whatever it is that's the equivalent of, you know, not the right space to be doing it. But find your space. It can be a bike ride. It can be knitting. It can be writing poetry. It can be humming songs in the shower every morning as a ritual, you know, like to pump your day up or whatever. Just got to find it. Just got to find what it is that when you do the thing, the energy use doesn't feel like a waste or even like an expenditure. It almost feels like it's giving you back a little bit. Like you're investing it and it's reinvesting itself back into whatever it is that you want it for. Drawing from the Well is a show about conversation and contemplation. talking and thinking, basically kind of philosophy, which is the love of thinking. So that's kind of just what it is, me thinking out loud. I hope you like it. I will be having guests in the future. And yeah, holler if you like it, and see you on the next one. Thanks.
DFTW.